Alright, welcome back to the shop. I've got a quick video today on an issue with this Growler, ITV number 33, and I'm going to talk a little bit about saltwater damage and kind of rust damage, what kind of stuff to look at on these. So this one showed up, came from Iowa. When the guy dropped it off, when the transport company dropped it off, it wasn't running. They had a windshield on their trailer to get it here, and then they left it kind of out in the front, kind of in the way. So I went out there and I went to start it to move it. I went to jump it, checked out fluids, stuff like that. The reservoir was empty for the steering, and so I topped it off. I got fluid in it now. I topped it off and I got it started. I'm running it and it's not bleeding. Like it, I had to just keep adding more and more, and after like half a gallon I'm like, something's wrong with this thing. Why is it taking so much oil? Start go and look underneath, and just down under here, if I could see oil on the ground here, hydraulic fluid was just running out down there. So I just shut it off. I let it sit there for a day, and we just put the tow bar on it. We drug it into the shop with the tow bar. I put it up on the lift and to look up in the pans to see where the leak was from. Now this is the one that had the rear steering delete. So I thought, well, maybe they cut one of the hoses. Maybe they unhooked a hose down here because there was a junction block just under the dash. I thought maybe it was leaking from there, but it turns out it wasn't coming from underneath. It was coming from in here, under the console. So coming through here, yeah, I think I'll use the light. You can see these two hoses I have right here, this hose and this hose. I added those. What they normally have is they have two steel lines that run through here. The pressure comes from the steering pump and it goes up to a bulkhead fitting that's right over here under the dash. And then from the bulkhead fitting, the steel line goes across here, and then it goes all the way down to the back. And then it comes to this bulkhead right here. So you got a pressure line and a return line. And then those go to the rear steer unit. Well, they go to a pressure relief valve, a pressure relief controller, and then it goes to the rear steer unit, and then it comes back, and then it goes to the regular steering, the regular steering valve, which is mounted up here, at the base of the steering column. It goes to there. But anyways, you wouldn't know by looking in here. You don't see any rust in here, which is very odd. But the lines were rusted really bad. They're bare metal lines that run through there, and I'll post a picture right here in the video so you can see what the lines look like. You can see all the pitting on here. You can see just the rust, and you can tell the rust is like a saltwater rust. This rust, how coarse it is, the color of it, that's from saltwater. It's not typical rust. Look at the lug nuts. It's like that really coarse, thick, heavy rust. So this one obviously saw some salt water, and it got up in here underneath the tunnel and just rotted those lines out right there. Fortunately, this isn't all rusting in here. Yeah, this is all aluminum, so that's why that didn't rust in there. But nothing else is really bad looking in here. So the owner's really lucky as far as that goes. So, but anyways, I took the steel tubes out. Instead of trying to fit new tubes in there, I went to the cat dealer, and you can't see it on here, but this is Caterpillar hydraulic hose. It's really good stuff. It's rated about twice the PSI rating that it actually needs. And so anyways, now that that's in, I can put the tunnel back on. I'll clean all this up, put the tunnel back on, and then I'm going to get rid of this gun, or the radio, the comm mount that was here. I'll put a flat plate. I set to clean all this up, and I've already bled the system out. I have the front steering working, the rear steering working, and everything. But let's talk about rust on these things. You can see the surface rust. This stuff does need to be addressed. I don't do body work and paint and stuff like that. I'm just fixing these mechanically, but the owner's going to want to do something to arrest the rust on this thing. One thing that we do to all these that come through here now, this one already has it, but if it doesn't have them, we add them. We drill these drain holes in here. I usually put them just in the corners, and if we happen to take fuel tanks out, we'll put a drain hole there too in the corners. They do have one drain hole, and it actually lines up with the drain plug for the tanks, but it doesn't seem to be enough. If I leave one of these out in the rain, I'll come back and there'll be an inch of water in this thing, and it doesn't really go anywhere until you drive it around and you can get it to kind of work its way out that one hole. So that's something that we do on all these. We add a drain hole in here. And then if you come around and look, you can see all the hubs are rusted up. I haven't pulled a wheel off one of these yet, but I can pretty much guarantee you that the drums are going to be stuck on the hubs. We do have we have worked those off. There's been a couple we've left them on. It's like, well, one day when it needs a rotor, the owner's gonna have to get that off or whatever. But on a vehicle like this, I mean, this thing might not need rotors for 20 years, but there have been some that we've had to go in there and change the hubs on. So we made a puller so that we can actually get the brake disc off of the hub. So anyways, when you see this much rust, it's a really good idea to just kind of walk around, make sure you don't have things rusting up that you need to arrest the rust on. We've actually seen it with the seatbelts rusted up where they're solid inside. They've got a gulp of salt water inside there and they're frozen up. This one, for the fact that you could see it did get salt water, it's actually in pretty good shape. But I don't know if they cleaned it pretty soon after. I looked at the exhaust, the exhaust here at the turbo. The wastegate valve is stuck and it's rusted up really good there. Another place to look is the hinges for the windshield. We've had a lot of these where we've had to spend, considerable amount of time trying to get these hinges apart. They should have drilled them and put a grease cert here so they could grease them. But I really don't think they made these things to, last 20 years in service. I think they were more of a short time use vehicle. But once we do get these off, I've got some lube that I use. It's like a paste lube. It's made by PB, and I will goop it all over the hinge before I put it back together, and that'll keep them from rusting up in the future. So that's one more place to look at. All right, so that's just a quick video on, just something we found on this particular M1161, and it's something to look for. Like if you have one, it's got a lot of the signs of rust on it. It's not a bad idea to pull that center console plate off and maybe even pull that rear tunnel cover off just to check and make sure that those lines aren't rusted through, because they weren't painted, they were bare metal, and they were attacked by that saltwater rust. And the problem with it is, if that thing blows out when you're off-roading somewhere or something like that, you're going to lose rear steering, you're going to lose front steering, and your brake booster. So it's something you really want to keep an eye on. You don't need to replace it with tubing. I used like a 4,000 PSI or better, I think it's 4,500 PSI hydraulic hose. It's JIC ends, number 4 JIC ends on each end, and it was real simple to do, real easy. So anyways, thanks for watching. I appreciate you guys watching. Please hit the like button. That helps a lot with YouTube. They like to see that you guys are interacting. And if you could leave any kind of comment, even not a bad comment, but any kind of comment like, thanks or whatever, that helps a ton too, because that all goes in to see kind of like how my videos are doing. So anyways, thanks for watching and have a good day.